Thanks everyone for joining. I've got Julie Ford with me. I'm super excited to talk to Julie and ask her a few questions. But before we get started, I think maybe Julie, if it makes sense, before I get into the questions, I wouldn't mind you just talking about the Digital Advertising Alliance of Canada, because I think some people may not even know what it is. Not because you guys don't do amazing work there, like a lot of people in the advertising community know you, but there's sometimes people in our community that are from more of an education background, or they may not be doing a lot of advertising and they're doing B2B marketing. So maybe you could just spend like a second talking about the DAAC.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I'm Julie Ford. I'm the executive director here at the Digital Advertising Alliance of Canada, or DAAC. It's an association of associations. So a lot of the largest associations in Canada are on our board of directors. And what they've created was this self-regulatory program for interest-based advertising. And that's what the Ad Choices program is. We also have another self-regulatory program called the Political Ads Transparency Program. But the majority of my time is spent on the Ad Choices program. I've been in the digital media biz since 2000. I started at an ad network. I was in an ad agency in the past. And then over the last 10 years, I've been helping the DAAC lead this program and the work. And so again, Ad Choices, it's a self-regulatory program. It's built by the advertising industry for the advertising industry, but it takes into account the privacy laws in Canada and tailoring our program for this market. And so what we have are participants, and they join the program like brands, publishers, ad tech providers, to enhance the transparency around targeted advertising to consumers, because you'll see this little icon in the corner of ads. That's that privacy notice to you. You can click on it, find out more who delivered the ad to you. And if you want to opt out of this ecosystem, the DAAC operates opt-out tools as well. And then there's a whole accountability side for program participants. So think of it like a privacy program that the ad industry has created for itself.
And it's just a way of like just making the advertising like delivery a better experience for people that are seeing the ads, right?
Exactly. More transparent, bringing transparency and choice to the consumer and to all of us, really. And in giving everybody control over whether or not they want to receive it. But,
Yeah, so
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so what would you say, like, in terms of companies? Like, I see ad choices all the time, like when I'm looking at
Mhm.
display ads. So would you say you've penetrated a lot of the market in for Canada, or like what does that look like?
I'd say we have probably the majority of third parties in the ecosystem. So all the big guys, mid-level, ad tech providers. Where we're always striving for growth is in the brand and publisher sectors. So brands might not realize that if they're facilitating that data collection, then they have to let the visitor know that that data collection is happening. Some lately are doing that through like cookie banners, consent banners, which is great. But on the ad itself, there is the responsibility to let them know that the use of that, their personal information, is being used to fuel that ad, their audience information. It could be past purchases, retargeting, remarketing. All of that falls under the purview of the Ad Choices program. And so we're trying to get out there and talk more with brands and say, hey, you have a role to play. You have a role as the steward of the whole industry to your customers, and you should be letting the customer know that this data collection is happening on your properties, and hopefully our program's a way for them to do that.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. I just wanted to frame that in case people just who are listening in don't really know what the DAAC is. All right.
Yeah.
So we know your name. Your name's Julie Ford. What is your connection to marketing, education, and AI?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting the position I'm in, because I'm not directly in the advertising sector anymore. I'm not working on campaigns and optimizing anymore. I'm sort of a step away. But what's great about that is I can have time to read and research and observe and watch, what's going on in this sector. And I also bridge two areas. Everybody who works in this area bridges like the marketing area sector and then the privacy sector. And often those two bodies aren't talking with each other. And so they might have different perspectives of AI and what's to come. I'd say that the online targeted advertising sector, we've always been extremely intelligent when it comes to how we use data. We've always been a data first industry. I think that's what all the investment came to us because of, right? All the optimization we could do. So it makes perfect sense that like AI, machine learning are topics that we want to dive into deeper and really figure out, what's next. And I think like, with real-time bidding, I think that was like the start of like machine learning becoming part of our day-to-day lives.
Right.
And it's only going to like accelerate from here. Generative AI, we've seen the shift of people starting to use it every day in their work, and who knows, what's to come next. Yeah, it's just fascinating. I love to observe, to try and translate what I'm seeing, and maybe in the future be an educator, not just necessarily about AI, but also like privacy and to the advertising folks and advertising to the privacy folks. It's like it's fun to sit in the middle.
Well, I mean, that brings up a question for me because like I sometimes work with bigger brands on their advertising campaigns, and AI is still something that a lot of them are very cautious about
Mm,
approaching, especially with like imagery,
yeah,
like a lot of them, like the copywriters are just using generative AI just for like ideas. Like, do you
right.
have, are you talking to any like third party suppliers or brands that are actually using AI when they're like putting together their campaigns right now, or is it still
Um, yeah,
explore?
like for the final product, I don't think it's for the final product, but I have talked to an agency that was using a creative agency that uses it to help with not necessarily briefs, but like mock-ups. So for example, they were working on a wine brand and she was saying, well, I can use generative AI or like imagery to help me create the actual wine bottle, and then we'll design the labeling of the wine bottle, and then the client can see what it looks like. So it's saving them time with like photography. So some efficiencies are happening there. And then I talked to someone else who says, well, like scope writing, it's helping them facilitate writing up scopes and just efficiencies, just trying to save some time here and there.
Yeah, I mean, the wine bottle example, yeah, that totally makes sense to me. It just helps to like, setting up the foundation of the concept,
Yeah,
instead of having to like use expensive photography, get a studio, get the lighting, they
yeah,
can just do it. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
do it
I
quick.
have heard too about, some creative teams, like even tossing around the idea of having the client show them what
Oh,
they're thinking
I
by,
love that.
yeah, because like,
I love that.
I mean, because a lot of times, like when the client is briefing the creative team, it's hard for them to like articulate what they're thinking. So it could be interesting to maybe say like when you're briefing us, when you're putting together your brief, like you may want to even put together some rough like concepts of what you were thinking as a thought starter or jumping off point for our creative team. So yeah, anyway, I thought I'd
It's
toss that one out there too.
I think that's fantastic, and it could save so much time, and then you're not guessing and disappointing the client. It's just could so much time could be saved. I'm not trying to read
Yeah,
their
because sometimes
minds.
briefs are not, what,
Yeah,
anyway, we won't get into
yeah.
that. Um, how do you use AI today in your professional and personal life?
Okay. Um, well, I am obsessed with generative AI, particularly ChatGPT. I know there's many others out there, but that was the one that sort of really got me excited. So what I've used it for is distilling complicated issues down into summaries for myself to read, or sometimes social media posts, but not as much lately. I've been using it also to kind of get some research, so like figuring out perspectives of certain topics. It's not necessarily doing the job, it's helping me do my job better, like helping me to accelerate my job. And you're only as good as your queries. So, you could just be, I could be crap in the bed here with it, but I think it's been really helpful for me. Um, I also have this bad tendency when I'm writing to bury the lead. My old mentor, Janet Callahan, used to always tell me that you're burying the lead. You're burying the lead. I remember I had to Google what that meant once. And so, what I love about, even think tools like Grammarly, which are based on AI, I love using those tools because it helps me write better and be clearer with my writing. So that's what I use in my day-to-day job. And then I've also noticed like French translation on ChatGPT seems to be pretty good. I'm not a French speaker, but I have been just sort of testing it and seeing if it works. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and someone who's French could be like, no, it's horrible, but it does seem a little bit more precise to Quebec French.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That's funny because I have kind of asked certain, like, asked people around and they're just like, oh, we still use translators, but maybe
Mm.
for just like the first
Like
sort of pass at it, maybe it could work. Yeah, for sure.
just small things, yeah, for sure. I would never replace a human translator, never. But for like
Yeah.
little small phrases, for sure.
Yeah. So do you use the team version or are you just using like ChatGPT 4? Like does your team have like a team account or
No, no, not yet. I'm just using the regular old one, and it's not all the time. It's more when if I'm having a bit of brain fog and I'm like, oh, can you just summarize this for me quickly? And then I then I am able to absorb it.
so it's funny you mentioned that because like I like ChatGPT for summarizing things. I find it really strong. Like if I give it
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm super lazy and I'll throw an art like I'll copy and paste a whole article in and say,
Yeah.
can you tell me what I need to know here? And it just like gives me the key points. And I've even cross-checked it to see if it's actually because sometimes it'll miss things, but
Mhm.
most of the time it's pretty dead on.
It's pretty good.
Um,
And Charlie AI is also really good. I don't know if you've used that one. I use that. Okay, so for personal side of things, like I'm a housing advocate in my area. I'm always pushing for social housing. I'm fighting REITs. I'm sorry if anyone on the call is a real estate investor, but it's really affecting our little neighborhood here. And I'm constant, like our group has FIPA requests out there, and so we get these massive 800-page FIPA documents, and we all work full time. None of us are going to be able to read everything, and a lot of it's just wrote emails back and forth, back and forth. And so we've used tools like Charlie to summarize what's in these FIPA requests, and
right.
you can query
Okay.
afterwards, which is super helpful. So and it also shows like what pages are certain phrases used. So I've really found that helpful.
Nice. I mean, a lot of law firms like have been doing that for a while. Like when they get dumped, like from the other side, like a bunch, boxes and boxes of info. Like they call it e-discovery, but yeah, that totally
Mhm.
makes sense to me for sure. I don't know if you've tried this yet, but someone in the community had mentioned a really good tip about using Genesis to summarize um YouTube videos.
Oh my gosh, I'm writing it down. That's a great
Yes,
idea.
please. Try it tonight, like Google Genesis. Honestly, when I heard that, I forget who said that. Um, I think Andrew Jenkins did.
Mm.
And it was when he said that, I was like, oh my God, like that is such a time saver for me because sometimes I just want to learn something while I'm working, and I don't want to have to watch like a 45-minute YouTube video. I just want to get the gist of it, and
Yeah,
it'll summarize like the video for you. It's insane like how
that's
good.
brilliant. What a brilliant use case that is. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
use that.
I guess for me, it's like I'll use different generative AI programs for different things right now,
Yeah,
because like I find one's better than the other for one thing, and then another is better for another thing. So and
yeah.
then there was one called Perplexity.ai that JF, who's in our community, was talking about. And it's the one, it's a British one, and you'll put a prompt in, it'll actually give you like it'll cite the sources of its answer. Because like
Very
I
cool.
find with ChatGPT, I'm like, I don't know where it's getting this from.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
definitely a downside of it.
And
Okay, I've
actually,
noted both of them.
yeah, sorry, I'm getting excited here. Genesis lied to me the other day. It totally made something up. And it was pretty shocking. And I actually confronted it about it. I said, I was I was talking to George Brown class just about AI and stuff, and I was looking for case studies, and it totally made up a case study.
Are you
And I'm like,
serious?
yeah. And
A total hallucination.
yeah. And so I confronted it about the hallucination. I said, that isn't true. I know that it's not. And
Yeah.
it literally came back and said, yes, you're right. It is not true. Like I'm having this like confrontation with a generative AI like program. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm
Oh my
going
God.
nuts. Anyway.
The
So
future is
in
now.
so that's interesting about your personal life, like you're using it to help you get through documentation, like about something that you're passionate about. That's really cool. Um, what do you fear most about the changes that AI is going to bring?
Hmm. Well, sentience. I
Mm,
fear sentience. Um, Bad actors for sure. Like for like government bad actors, but like in the more day-to-day sort of advertising world, definitely, biases, algorithmic biases. This is a problem we have today, right? This is nothing new. So as long as we have like human oversight, some goals to not discriminate. There's this phrase, right? Garbage in, garbage out. I love that phrase because it's true. If there's garbage in your model's going to be garbage. It's going to give garbage advice. So like just be
yeah,
very cognizant of what's going into it, and what you expect out of it, and always have that human touch and perspective and diverse human touch. Um, and then, job losses also are on top of my mind, both in the short term and the long term. Like,
okay,
I don't know. I was recently listening to this podcast, the Pivot podcast. It's Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway. And they were trying to predict, what the future of work will look like. And they had this heavy emphasis on the trades and how people should be going back into the trades because AI could be taking all the jobs, the more mundane, maybe not mundane, it's not the right word, but jobs
right,
that jobs that could be really repetitive or prone to human error that shouldn't be. And they were really pushing on the trades. And I thought, well, what is my daughter's 13, like, what is her cohort of friends going to be going into when she starts to go to school and after school? Like, what is the world that they're going to live in going to look like? And I don't think any of us have an answer. It's going to be different. It might be drastically different 5, 10 years from now.
yeah,
But yeah, that, and then of course the mistrust. Like you think back at that Princess Catherine, her whole photo thing where suddenly people were scrutinizing what's real, what's not real. That was interesting, right? Like the mistrust. So yeah, that's
yeah.
that's sort of what I think of when I think of what I'm concerned about. But you know,
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally get it. I'll check out that Pivot podcast, in the future of work. I guess where mine goes, like I agree with you. Like I'm not sure what like work is going to look like, in 5, 10 years, but gosh, like I'm aging myself, but like I got into the working world in 99, and I think you said like I think you and I are around the
Yes.
same age.
Yeah.
Um, and I just and I just feel like, I mean, what was like marketing like in the 90s? Like it was totally different than when the internet just kind of exploded. And I feel like this is just another iteration of that. And
Right.
maybe I'm
I'm
just
with you.
feeling, yeah, like I feel like for me, I think marketers who aren't at least paying attention, but not buying into the hysteria of AI, but like that are just keeping their eyes open, and staying like upskilling where they feel they need to. I think
Yeah.
that is, you know, what people should be doing. Like I'm not feeling doomsday anymore. Like a year ago,
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Now I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna be okay. I think we're gonna be fine as long as everyone just kind of like stays like on the up and up with what's happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
just
agree with you. I'm
Pollyanna.
like
I don't.
cautiously optimistic too.
Okay, fair. In terms of like fakes and stuff, like I'm with you. Like it's just I don't know. There's some like there was something I saw earlier about TikToks where there's now programs where you can take someone's likeness and then turn that into a TikTok through
Wow. Yeah.
AI. I'm just like, oh my God, I hope no one does that to me. Like, please don't.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
it
Yeah,
could
and like the whole
happen, right?
political advertising space, like we, as I mentioned, we have this separate program about political ad transparency, and that's real, you know. These deep fakes are happening right now, and some of them are very convincing. Right now, it's a lot of like slander, and it's kind of obvious it's fake, but it doesn't
Yes.
take much to make it feel real.
Right.
Mhm.
Like it's not the Will Smith eating spaghetti anymore, but like you can still kind of tell that it's still a little off, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Just going back to what you were saying about the bad actors, especially in the ad industry, is that something that the DAAC would be like, have you thought about like maybe putting guidelines together, or is that, something you're looking at, or?
I think it would probably be something our individual associations that are part of our program would be more interested
Sure.
in doing. At the DAAC, they come to the table with the sole goal of working on, you know, the interest-based advertising-based program and the political ad transparency program. If that mandate expands in the future, it's open, like we're open to that, but every association would have to agree on, you know, the outcomes that we would be looking for, the vision. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think it might be more effective if one of the trade associations or in combination, a couple of them would work on something like that.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Because like Rusa, who's part of our community, was talking to me on last Friday about do you know the Furniture Bank? It's that nonprofit agency where you can
Oh,
donate furniture. You just have to pay the moving costs.
so
Um,
cool.
yeah, it's super cool. My mom just used it actually this week, and I've used it years ago, where it's like the furniture I was moving and I didn't need the furniture anymore, and I can just donate it, and like someone else can, like, it's donated to someone in need. So
Yeah.
it's a very cool initiative, but what they have on their website is an AI manifesto, and it's a very cool sort of declaration of how they're using AI and how they're using it responsibly and without bias, and like what you were talking about earlier. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I can send you a link to it if it's
I'd love to
interesting.
see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially for a company like that to have an AI manifesto. That's fascinating, isn't it?
yeah. I thought it was really cool, and I think companies should follow suit. So I'll send
Mm,
that to you. And anyway,
great.
next question. What do you hope AI can improve our lives with in the near future?
Okay. I think, well, okay, I'll answer the advertising and marketing sector maybe part first. I think that I said efficiencies probably 100 times in this call already, but
Yeah,
the
that's a good one
efficiencies,
though.
the optimizations, the stuff that was such grunt work back in the day of crunching the numbers, Excel sheets that were pushing the limits. That's the world I grew up in. And having shortcuts to do that type of work, I think is extremely powerful for agencies. Um, and creative agencies too, having ways to quickly resize or edit material could be helpful. And then I loved your idea about clients being able to kind of hone in on their vision and share that with their agency to enhance it. That's awesome. And then when it comes to targeted advertising, I guess enhancing data models could be helpful in the future. I'm not sure what that will look like. It'll all depend on the data itself that fueled those models. Like I kind it kind of gets murky when it comes to the privacy side of things. You hear a
Right.
lot of people say, "Oh, we're privacy first. We're it's non-PII we're using or yada yada." But it's at the end of the day, a lot of the information we use online is personal information, and so we have to account for that somewhere somehow in the ecosystem. And so I'm just curious to see, what will happen over the next couple of years with identity and targeted advertising. But I do think that there's a lot of promise for scalability and measurement and propping up the values of digital will continue to be there. The fact that we always want to be a transparent ecosystem, or we're trying to be a transparent ecosystem. Yeah, I think it'll be helpful for marketers in particular to know, where was the dollar spent and how and yeah, I don't know. That's sort of my thoughts around the advertising area. But then for personal, like my life, I'd love to see the enhancements to health prognosis, like diseases, like research in the health area, like cancer detection. I'm really excited to see what the health sector does with these tools. And I hope that there's some smart people in these public agencies that are using the tools, or they have the authority to use these types of tools to try and speed things up in academia and in health. Because I think ultimately, what are we doing this for? We're doing this to make lives better, and health is an area that we should be spending a lot of effort and focus on, in my opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. And it's funny you mentioned that. We have a community member actually who just joined the other day. His name's Colin, and I'm gonna do a meet me with him. And he actually is working in that industry. Like he's actually
Awesome.
helping to develop AI platforms for doctors and medical professionals to use with patients. So
That's
um
so great to hear.
oh, it's
Love it.
so cool. So I'm gonna nail down a date with him just to have a meet me with him. So um now last question, very important. What is the best sandwich in your opinion? Not AI related at all, but very
I love it. Okay, so you warned me this question was coming up, and I was thinking, okay, does it have to be like a generic sandwich, or can it be from a specific place? Like,
anything
what do
you
you
want.
anything? Okay, so I thought of three answers. So
Ooh, I love it.
first, okay, there's this bakery down the street from my house. I live at like Lansdowne and Bloor area, and it's at
Cool.
Lansdowne and Wallace, and it's called Paris Bakery. It's called Paris Bakery, but it's run by Portuguese people. They're awesome, and they make this really amazing chicken salad sandwich. And they have a great ham and cheese. But what's great about it is the bread. They make their bread there, and it's this massive sandwich, and it's super cheap. And so my number one right now is Paris Bakery. But then I was like, but I'd really love the club sandwich at Hayden Restaurant, which is on Highway 17, just outside of Sault Ste. Marie. My family, we have a plate, like my husband's from Sault Ste. Marie, so we have a cottage like way up there, and we have to pass
Yeah.
it all the time. We're always like, oh my God, call Hayden for the club. They have this turkey club. It's fantastic. Yeah, so turkey sandwiches, chicken salad sandwiches, those are my go-to. And if I can't get to those two places, I love Mr. Sub, which is like controversial, right? But it's Canadian. And I love Mr. Sub's turkey sandwich with extra cheese. And if I can't have Mr. Sub, I'll go for Subway turkey sandwich. So that's a long-winded
Whoa.
sandwich
You said
answer.
Subway. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, so wow, there's a lot there. Okay, I'm going to Paris Bakery. I'm checking this out because I'm at college in Bathurst, so like I'm sort of near there.
Yeah.
And
You can
the
just buy the
Sault
bread
Ste.
too.
Marie
You can just, yeah, buy the bread. Buy the bread, bring it home, and it'll be a fantastic sandwich.
All right, cool. And then the Sault Ste. Marie one, I don't know the next time I'll be up there, but I'll definitely note.
Hayden
But
restaurant.
you
Yeah.
saying okay, hey, I'm gonna put this all in the show notes too for everybody. And then the club sandwich. So Russ, from Massively, we talked to him last week. He said a club sandwich too. So you've got a sandwich twin there. But then
You got it all,
sorry,
right?
the
It's like
third
meat.
was
Sorry,
classic,
just
right?
I was like,
Classic.
you got everything in there. You got vegetables, you've got meat, you got bacon. It's great.
And then yeah, and then Mr. Sub. So there's actually a Mr. Sub at the Toronto Western Hospital food court, which is like so bizarre because there's hardly any Mr. Subs downtown anymore
I
in
know.
Toronto.
I know. They're gone. A lot of them are gone, but
So
they're good.
if you're ever like passing through my hood, stop by Toronto Western because Mr. Sub in the
Noted.
food court in the hospital. I know it's so random. So that's awesome. But I just wanted to thank you so much for the interview and sharing all your insights. This is all amazing stuff. I'm so glad I had a chance to talk to you. And yeah, and we'll talk soon.
You. Yeah, thank you for offering to do this with me. And I really love what you're doing. I think it's great to build a community and just having these conversations. So thanks as well, Liz.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, Julie. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.